today's our video, we're going to be looking at forming matrices, a couple of different ways we can do that, and just playing around with them a little bit. As always, if you do want to download R, the link to download it free is in the description. And let's get right into it. So we can define matrices using the matrix command. Really simple stuff. So I'm going to name a matrix my matrix, and how the matrix command works is you type in matrix, you open up your brackets. In this first column, you want to put in your data set. Okay, so I'm going to create a data set as a vector of numbers, and I'm going to pick 9 numbers. This is not the most efficient way of writing in the data set, but you know, let's check that's 9. Yep. And now I can put n row, standing for the number of rows on my matrix. I'm going to say 3, and n column as 3. And the reason I want to do this is I want to have a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so I want 3 rows and 3 columns. I want it to organize my 9 bits of data into 3 rows and 3 columns. So we'll see if that's done the trick. Yes, it has. We have our matrix 3, 1, 3, 3. Alright, so it's gone down the rows first. So we get 3, 3, 6, 1, 2, 8, 3, 4, 1. There you go. Okay. Now I'm going to create my matrix 2, and just to show you something, if we put in matrix C and then we put in all the same data, and then we just put the number of rows equal to 3. Well, how do we think this is going to come out? Because we haven't actually told how many columns we want. But R just figures it out from the number of rows you've put in and the number of the amount of data you have. If it just figures out a way to fit that into a matrix, it almost guesses how you want it. So in this case, you don't have to type in the number of columns, because it's obvious to R that if you've got 3 rows, 9 bits of data, you need 3 columns. Another way we can make matrices in R is to define a couple of vectors and then just join these vectors together. So say we have a vector x, and we want to make this vector 3, 7, 1, 8, and then we take a vector y and we make that 4, 1. Let's just do spaces just for symmetry. You don't need the spaces, I just think it looks nicer. 4, 6, 9, 1. And now we want to define, let's just call this my map, right? And we're going to use a function called cbind, and we're going to put in our vectors x and y. And you can see it has joined our vectors together in 2 columns. So it's got x down in the first column and y is the second column. And if you haven't figured out by now, cbind stands for column bind, which makes sense. A lot of the commands in R are quite intuitive. Some of them are not. So yeah, look out for that. But this one's quite an easy one to remember if you want to join things together in a way that the columns, then use column bind, and if you hadn't guessed it, next we're going to use rbind, and the command for that is rbind. So pretty simple stuff. I've just redefined my mat. I meant to call that my mat 2, but whatever. I'm not going to use these later, so it's not the end of the world. And now it's joined X and Y together, but instead it's got them as rows of this matrix. If we want to check the dimensions of my mat, we can type in dim, and it gives you the rows 2 and how many columns you have, which is 4. And we can also do this with our matrices from earlier, my matrix 3 by 3 and dim my matrix 2. It's another 3 by 3 matrix. That is all we're going to do in this video. If you did find it useful, please be sure to like and subscribe. In the next R video, we're going to be looking at some functions we can do with these matrices that we might do in the real world. We're also going to look at naming the rows and columns, because at the moment, as you can see, this isn't very clear, so stay tuned for that next week, and I hope to see you in the next video.